Put your mouth normal. Okay. Welcome to the WellPlayed DLC podcast, Australia's juiciest gaming podcast. I am your host for the week, James Wood, and tonight I am joined by our illustrious editor-in-chief, Zach Jackson.
Hello. Evening.
Hello. Our news editor, Adam Ryan.
Hello, that's me.
And IBS survivor, Nathan Hennessy.
What could you have gone for? Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Oh,
Hello.
That is good.
Was that or JRPG editor? And I was like, that's not funny enough.
World famous Square Enix fan. Love a Final Fantasy, guys. All of them. Equally.
Exactly right. Nice little show for you folks today. Nathan has been playing Stalker 2, Heart of Chernobyl, which is very exciting. I have dipped my toes into the opening hours of Avowed. We also have the Game Award nominations, and Sony might soon be buying FromSoft's parent company, but we will tackle all of that in a little bit. Instead, let's kick off. Zach, how are you tonight?
Yeah, I'm alright. I'm going okay. Got my My Pet Monster t-shirt on. Really reliving my childhood days.
Can see that. Yeah. What's the premise of My Pet Monster for those who haven't seen it?
That is a good question. I will need to Google that for you.
You're like one of those guys that wears a Ramones shirt and doesn't know any of their songs.
I just don't know what to tell you. Like what the premise is. It's just like it's a monster. So I'm going to read you from the Wikipedia. My Pet Monster is a character that began as a plush doll, first produced by American Greetings in 1986. It has horns, blue fur, a fanged smile, and wears breakaway orange plastic handcuffs. So then it became a...
Wait, hang on. Wait. Rewind.
You got him with the handcuffs.
Breakaway orange handcuffs?
Yeah. So it became a little like live action film. So in 1986, it was a film about a boy named Max who becomes the pet monster after being exposed to a statue, changing when hungry. Dr. Snyder, the scientist who originally discovered the statues and the legend behind them, wants to kidnap him for publicity purposes while Max's sister helps him out of a crisis. A pilot for an unproduced series, blah, blah, blah. There you go. But there's also a little cartoon series as well. It's been a very, very, very long time since I've seen this show. But yes, it's basically from the cartoon, yeah. The film's only like 60 minutes long. There you go.
I wasn't ready for exposed to a statue. I was like exposed to, and I was like, radiation, magic, all of the, the things that are usually a setup for this. Like, no, exposed to a statue. Excellent. No notes.
I would do that too, yeah.
Other than that, I bought Goo Goo Dolls tickets today, so I'm quite excited to see them.
Oh, my man.
That's it.
Can I ask how much?
What do the Goo Goo Dolls sing? Would I know them?
Iris.
Oh, you definitely know.
Iris? No, that's Zombie by the Cranberries I'm thinking of. Don't mind me. Yeah.
Easy mistake to make.
Yeah.
2000 soundtrack of the week is from a movie called City of Angels. Maybe you've heard of it?
Oh, what a film clip.
I actually don't even know who's in it, but the Iris... Is it Nick Cage? No, it's not Nick Cage, is it?
Hang on, I'll give it a look up.
Meg Ryan and Nick Cage? That doesn't sound like a combo that would work.
It doesn't, does it?
Anyway, Iris, he like, and I don't want the world to blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
there you go. And they sing a couple of others. But anyway, there you go. They're coming in March next year. Very, very excited. Is it Meg Ryan and Nick Cage? It's not. It's probably like Tom Hanks or something, isn't it? He seems to pair up with Meg Ryan.
Hang on.
Probably neither, actually.
Yeah. Real swinging for the fences here.
Mate, how
I'm sorry, I know.
This fact-checking is pretty rough for a news editor.
I know, right?
It is. Go fuck yourself. It's Meg Ryan and Nicolas Cage.
Hey.
What a pull. Done well. What a weird pairing. Good Lord. They don't look right together.
Saying it didn't sound like it fit.
It doesn't look any better than it sounds, so.
No. Well, speaking of looking better than he sounds, Nathan, we'll go with that. How are you doing tonight?
A lot of pressure now. How do I sound, boys? Well, apparently not too good, hey? Yeah.
Do you reckon Nathan is like real like Temu doppelganger of like Jake Paul? like real like low bar.
Oh no, that's horrible. Why would you say that
I
about
don't
Nathan?
know. It's just the
Nathan's an attractive man.
It's just the beard. You wouldn't
no
step in the ring with Jake Paul. No, I mean neither would I. But
no,
I don't know. It's just, I think it's just the beard. I don't know. Anyway,
I'm not backing that.
How do we get back on course after that?
Yeah, you know what? I'll fix it. I'll correct us. Nathan, what have you been playing this week that's not content?
Yeah, that sounds like one I can roll with. So just a little dabble on Black Ops between content, and I've wrapped up the effective story for both of the zombies maps, which has been a heck of a lot of fun. A little bit frustrating at times, just working with the dynamic of strangers in cooperative situations. But I had a fantastic experience. I found that the zombies was really strong. I've never actually invested much time into a zombies ever, so this is the first one that I've given a solid crack, and just got lost in it. Just casually diving in with strangers. So that's been a lot of fun. Now just got to wait for the next map to drop sometime mid-season, they're saying. But it's nice that they're going to have a steady content stream for that mode.
When you say the story, is it like the Easter egg, like working your way through the shoot the heads off mannequins shit, like that kind of situation?
Effectively, yeah, but of course it used to be quite opaque. So what they've done now with the launch of Season 1 is they've introduced Director Mode, which is marketed to beginners. So it has a maximum round of 15. So normally it just keep going, and if you just got to try and figure out how to do the Easter eggs while it's round 30 and everything's too insurmountable. 15, nice and easy, and it guides you, it guides the team step by step as to how to get through sequentially the Easter eggs to reach the final boss, wrap it up, get your achievements, happy days. I'd already done that before going into this new mode, but there's new rewards for players that dip into the new mode, the new easy mode, even if you're just coaching other players. So it's all good. It's as I said last time, it's the most approachable zombies ever been, and probably Call of Duty, really.
Did you play any of the campaign? Because I did start the campaign as well.
Yeah. April and I finished the campaign a couple of weekends ago. It's meaty. It goes for a while.
I only did maybe half an hour.
How was your opening half hour?
Quite enjoyed it. It was just what I wanted. It's it reminded me of something that we'll talk about a bit later on tonight in another series. I just wanted that blockbuster thing.
Yeah, it's good junk food for when you feel like it.
Reliably.
Adam, you been playing any junk food?
I've not been playing junk food. I've been playing avant-garde bullshit that you don't really know if it's food or if you're meant to. I don't know. It was a terrible segue. I've been playing Control, which isn't as avant-garde as I made it sound. So I tried playing Control. Yeah, right. I tried playing Control maybe a year or so ago and just kind of immediately bounced off it and was like, I don't really see what the fuss is about. I can appreciate it now and enjoy it a whole lot more post Alan Wake 2. I think Alan Wake 2 is what warmed me to the Remedy way of things, because I don't think that kind of style vibes with everyone. Alan Wake 2 obviously very much vibed with me, and now going back to Control, I'm having a fucking excellent time. And that gun is very satisfying, and I'm just starting to unlock a few different abilities. The world is very cool. It's bizarre as fuck. It's just as odd as Alan Wake 2. I didn't expect it to be as strange. In some ways, it's even stranger. So yeah, I'm having a really wonderful time.
How do you feel about coming off of Alan Wake 2, which is a game with some pretty human protagonists in it, going to Jesse Faden, who is the reason I bounced off Control the first time is because I thought the writing around Jesse was too abstracted for me to give much of a shit about her. I didn't feel that way on Return, but I do think she's still, especially for a Remedy lead, she's very held at a distance from the player.
Compared to particularly Saga Anderson, who I really fell in love with as a protagonist. Alan Wake is Alan Wake. He kind of...
He's a lad.
He is what he is. He's great. I do love him, but he is what he is. Jesse feels a bit alien, like just a bit detached from everything, and feels like more of a stand-in for the player than anything else. And because I think maybe because there is a bit more player choice with, like, you can ask different questions and there's some dialogue that you can choose. So that kind of is innately a bit that way. But she's odd. I'm hoping that I warm to her more. I think she's largely fine at the moment, but I would really like to warm to her more, because the bits that you see of her in the Alan Wake 2 DLC, I actually really liked. So I'm hoping that I can bridge the gap there. So we'll see. I'll see as the weeks pass.
Very good. Very good. Zach, outside of your Call of Duty adventures, anything you've been playing?
There is. It's something I wanted to discuss for review this week, but I haven't really, between all the little other things I've been dabbling in, I haven't got a chance to fully complete it. It's a point-and-click game called Loco Motive. I'm not sure if I said that last week. I know I said I was playing something, but I've been playing Loco Motive, which is a game I've been keen for a couple of years now. It is, I'll read you the little Steam blurb. God, I can't talk. On the Royce Express, a passenger has been murdered and you're the prime suspects. Uncover a thrilling mystery and solve satisfying point-and-click puzzles to prove your innocence. A slapstick adventure packed full of deadly surprises, shocking twists, and larger-than-life characters. In this, you're on board this train that this rich, very, very rich and wealthy lady, she owns. As she's giving a speech to basically say who's going to inherit her wealth or her estate, you go through a tunnel, bit like in Eurotrip, and but she dies. So you come out of the tunnel and she's dead. And you play as her estate lawyer, who, this is a game that if you made a live action film of it and you put Jim Carrey in like peak Jim Carrey, or like, Mask, Ace Ventura, like he would be Ace. I think that's his name.
Yes.
Yeah. Ace? Fuck, is that his name? Or am I confused with Ace Ventura? Anyway, the character.
Ace Ventura, yep.
No, not Ace Ventura, the character from the game.
It's a different Ace, you see.
I think it's
different Ace. We got multiple Aces.
Yeah.
I think it's
Ace is a great name for
Arthur.
a character, though.
Arthur.
Yeah, Diana, Arthur, and Herman.
Yeah, Arthur. I was getting confused with Ace Ventura. Fuck
Obviously.
that. But yeah, so you play three different characters, and you have to basically solve the mystery on who killed the old lady. But haven't had a chance to fully finish it, but I'm really, really enjoying it. I have had a lot of issues though, a lot of bugs. Unfortunately, as James would have seen, I've had to have a few conversations with the devs, about some bugs and stuff that have effectively roadblocked me. So there was one night where I was like, all right, I've got good 2 to 3 hours here to kind of really sit down and pump this bad boy out. And I booted it up and it updated, absolutely just fucked my save. So it was like my world was correct, but there were animations, invisible animations of previous scenes happening in the background.
Nope.
How very avant-garde.
But invisible. So
right.
you could hear them, right? But you couldn't see them. And then there were doors that I'd unlocked that were all still locked. And I'm like, mate, I've got the keys. What are you talking about? You use the key with the door. It's like, nope, this door's locked. It's like, okay. But thankfully we that was quite an easy fix. So I think it's should launch, I think, when this comes out, this podcast. So hopefully a lot of the bugs are fixed for the people who do play it from day one. But yeah, she's been a bit of a rough journey thus far, unfortunately. I will say I fucked up the first time where I thought the game was busted. Turns out I didn't actually opt into the review build. I completely forgot.
That'll do it.
So I played through the demo, essentially got to the end of the demo, saved it, went to load back up the next day, and that's all the progress is not there because obviously just the demo. And I was like, what the fuck? Nice. And I was literally writing this guy, the dev, message being like, it hasn't saved my game, what's going on? And I was like, hang on a minute. Wait.
Wait.
Yeah. I checked the review guide again, and I was like, all right, let me go to properties. And I was like, fucking hell, I didn't enter the... Anyway. But yeah, that's me. And some other stuff that we'll talk about.
Indeed. Well, on the topic of maybe roads to hard places where we've at least finally ended up somewhere, Nathan, you have been playing Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl. Now, my understanding is that you are still relatively early compared to maybe the entirety of the game, and so we're just going to do some initial impressions tonight. But has the wait been worth it? Is the return to the zone a good one?
Is a very warm welcome back to the zone. It's almost like we've never left. So it's incredible to be playing Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl in 2024, a game that we joked about would probably be delayed indefinitely, and it would be a miracle if we ever saw it come out. It's here. Look, in short, I'm very pleased to say that it is very much authentically the Stalker experience that folks would have, if they loved it back then, they're absolutely going to love it now, right down to the fact that it looks like it's barely held together with gaffer tape and just falls apart whenever the wind picks up. And it's great. So, quick story recap here. So, your protagonist is named Skiff. What's happened is they've become a stalker because an artifact, which are these kind of like metaphysical relics that have appeared since Chernobyl has had a fictional second meltdown, which has really sort of disrupted the fabric of reality in the zone, the area surrounding the Chernobyl radioactive plant. But what's happened is these relics are now produced as a result of the second fallout. They normally only appear in the zone in these irradiated areas. All of a sudden, one's appeared in this Skiff's living room and just virtually blown up his house, which is bizarre because he just, he doesn't live anywhere near the zone. So this has obviously caused him a lot of anguish. We don't know much about his character, and he just decides, look, I've got this stone. He's gone to see a scientist, and they've said, look, you've got a miracle here. It's going to make you really rich. Forget your old home. We're going to set you up for life. This is a great opportunity. There's obviously a lot more going on here, such as why did the artifact appear outside of the zone? There's a bit of meddling going on from some capricious scientists. But anyway, Skiff now begins his journey into the zone, starting at the perimeter. One of these scientists sets him up, says, take your artifact into the zone. We're going to charge it up. We're going to make it magical again, because at the moment it's gone to sleep after blowing up your house. And then we're going to sell it. Great. And then things immediately go sour at the point where he tries to charge it up during the prologue. He gets ambushed by a couple of different factions who it's not clear what they want. Were they there to just sabotage things? Were they there to take the artifact for themselves? Who knows? So that begins our journey into the zone, sort of. This is Skiff's first time being a quote-unquote stalker, which is a kind of like a bandit that goes through the wastes or the wastelands around Chernobyl looking for those artifacts I was talking about, selling them. There's a lot of money to be made. And they usually go through the zone for profit, generally, these stalkers. And they have the benefit of being able to interface with all the different factions because they're kind of lone rangers. And it's very much just kind of like post-apocalyptic fantasy that's cordoned within this zone, with all these different dynamics between factions that might be more cult-like, factions that operate on different, morals and methodologies. That's really cool. This is a very pretty game. It's made in the Unreal 5 engine. The way it renders atmosphere, environments, weather effects, and just the sense of dread that you find when you're underground and facing off against mutants, because this area is also possessed by a lot of creatures that have been transformed by the radiation. They're very dangerous. And so that's what this all means, is that there's going to be a real fight for survival for your character, because it's a very harsh environment. And survival, this is one of the sort of like progenitor survival games that a lot of like survival crafting games have taken, or seem to have taken a lot of inspiration from. You're going to have to manage your hunger and your stamina. You're going to be picking up food wherever you can get it. Every single bullet you're going to count. Every single bullet has weight. So you're going to be very carefully managing your inventory at all times. And all of this all this survival comes across very hard-nosed at first. It's going to be very difficult. You're going to die a lot. You're never going to have quite enough of what you need. Getting from A to B, there's very little fast travel. What is there is very expensive. So it's very much encouraging you, like Dragon's Dogma, to just go out in the world, maybe have a destination in mind, but don't be afraid to go off the beaten path. and just be mindful of just keeping track of all your survival skills at all times. It's a very harsh world. James, go on.
Question about the survival concept. So you talk about it as like the series kind of like a progenitor for where we ended up with a lot of open world survival games. Does the fact that this has been in development for so long and sort of has its franchise roots in the beginning of a lot of these tropes and ideas and mechanics, does it meaningfully evolve those things, or is it more comfortable sort of relishing maybe the origin points of them instead and giving you a more pure quote unquote open world survival experience?
So this is very much a survival experience circa what was shown back in 2007. It's almost like things like Far Cry and the whole Ubisoft open world schematic just didn't occur. So you're not going to be going to any high points to scan icons that will appear on your map. None of that. There's going to be no sort of like set stock missions that you're going to be doing ad nauseum in different zones of the map. It's all very organic. You don't know what you're ever going to be in for. Skiff has no idea about what he's doing. There's a little bit to his backstory about why he's able to handle guns and stuff like that. But you as the player, you're kind of just set loose in this world and given just like sort of directions to head in that's going to progress the story. But it's a lot to take in at first. It's extraordinarily intimidating. It's supposed to be. It's a very harsh world. You're going to get fucked up real quick, real early. The game's going to make a point of it. And it's going to really reinforce the kind of sense of dread that permeates this open world. Like, you're never going to feel safe in it. Because if you're not facing mutants, you're facing bandits. They're going to try and rob you for your stuff. Or you're going to face anomalies, which is something I haven't mentioned. So because this
Can I
world
ask
is...
before you do, just because I love the look and the idea of Stalker and just kind of that sort of setting, but I'm not massive on the survival genre, I suppose. Are there different like difficulty settings that are meaningful, or is it just like enemies will, do less damage, or does it kind of shave off some of the more unforgiving elements? Like you said, there was wait for ammo, right? Like you have obviously you become encumbered. Can you just hoard ammo if you drop the difficulty down? What's that kind of situation?
Oh, that's a good question. So I haven't explored that. I've myself have chosen there's 3 difficulties, effectively easy, medium, and hard. I've selected Stalker, which is normal, and that's very much a jumping off point for folks to finish the previous 3 Stalker games. It's harsh. I mean, there's tutorial there, but the game doesn't spend a lot of time. It does not hold your hand, so it's probably going to be rough going for anyone that hasn't played these games to go in anything other than easy. And maybe there's some stigma around that, but I'd be very much encouraging any new players to go on easy. They're going to still have a very challenging time, but you can just very easily get like headshot in this world and just die immediately. And dropping the difficulty is going to mean, I suspect, a lot less of that. Also, you'll like get scrapes. If you touch barbed wire, you'll start bleeding out. If you don't have any bandages, that's going to be a real pain in the ass having to manage that. I imagine they'd turn all that stuff way down.
Sure.
Survival, but without the crafting, by the way. So we're not going to be foraging and breaking shit down. It's just purely survival.
Does the kind of advent of modern combat and better gun handling, does that maybe diffuse some of the tension that was innate to the zone? Because I feel like, clumsily being able to work your way through a horrifying situation is kind of a core aspect of a survival horror vague experience, right? And, the better shooters feel, the less scared I often am, because I feel like I am more in control of my situation. How does this go about that?
Oh, it has a lot of fun with it. So there's probably 3 points I'd make. First is 90% of the weapons that you pick up are going to be heavily degraded, exposed to the elements of the zone. It's not complex, but there's a pretty intuitive like wear and tear system to this. So if you're spending a lot of time swimming through lakes and exposing yourself to radiation hotspots, your weapons and armor are going to degrade. You can upgrade them, improve them, repair them. That's all fine. What you're probably going to end up doing is just investing in a few key weapons. You can get good at those weapons, but a big issue that you're going to have is you can be as good with your weapon as you may want to be, but this game is so pretty and so high fidelity that visibility can be a strong thing that you'll contend with at night. They're going to need to fine-tune the AI a little bit because they kind of got superhuman vision at the moment, but at night, you're going to be looking out for nothing more than headlamps. It's going to be almost impossible to see enemies. They're probably going to see you, But like visibility is always something that you've got to negotiate in this game. That alone is probably going to be one of those things that reinforces that horror atmosphere for a lot of players, because you can be very skilled. There's also the fact that your character does suffer a lot of other effects extraneous to combat that's going to affect your stability. So there's enemies that have like psychic powers, or being exposed to the vicinity of certain anomalies is going to mess with your head, and it can even cause you to see enemies where there are none, and they will cause you damage. So there's a lot going on where you're being able to shoot good doesn't necessarily protect you from the dangers that you can't necessarily see around the corner, and there's always something around the corner.
Right. I mean, that sounds good. That sounds like what you want from this kind of experience.
You'll jump a lot.
Good. This is what I want. You mentioned the anomalies. I know that before we were talking about the fact that they often heralded maybe some of the game's wobblier elements at the moment.
So that, just like an authentic Stalker experience, this game will struggle to run, and when it does run, it looks magnificent first, but you're going to run into a lot of bugs, and they're kind of like your Skyrim-esque bugs for the most part. So there are occasional crashes. Mostly it's just going to be very little things. A quest giver that's marked on your map isn't there and don't seem to appear. Another quest doesn't progress. But it's usually minor ones. I've never come across a bug that's really made me angry, but they're usually just a lot of physics bugs as well. And that's where the anomalies become very funny, because anomalies will often affect the physics that are set up in the space around that part of the game. So it might affect gravity. So you might enter a space where you've got enemies that are sort of half in the walls, and it's hard to tell if their ragdoll is just like glitched or if an anomaly has half planted them in the wall. Because right through the game, you'll still be surprised at what anomalies are capable of. They're not simply just temporal distortions. Some will hurl things at you. Some will create manifestations of creatures. I'm still discovering what they're capable of, and you won't know what they are until you stumble upon them, which is fantastic.
Nice.
2 things, possibly even 3, if you're lucky.
Ooh.
So the first thing, just to tack onto that, is I have been playing this as well, right? But on the Xbox. Now, I remember when, Nathan, you first messaged me and you were like, essentially, this pooch is fucked. Like, this does not run. Basically, I
couldn't get it running. Yeah.
So I was like, God, on Xbox, it's gonna be an absolute shit show. However, on performance mode, it actually runs pretty well. Like,
well,
I don't know what frame rate it's running at. I should check, because my TV you can push a button and it will actually show you the frame rate, which has been really cool for the PS5 Pro thing, which is a bit of a side thing. But yeah, I haven't actually checked that, but I did run it on quality mode, because I did find performance, like, it looked good, but I was like, I feel like it could look better. You're talking, this looks phenomenal, and I'm like, it's good, but like, where's the whoosh? So I put it on quality, and that motherfucker did not run. That was just.
But did it have the whoosh? Like when it did stabilize?
If you were completely standing still.
If I was still, a little bit. It did look a lot. It looked. You could just see like that detail pop in, like as you change to quality mode. But yeah, it just did not run. It was just chugging too hard,
That's
mate.
concerning for a console game.
Well, what is concerning about that is that, well, I guess performance does work, so maybe not. But it's on the Series S, which blows,
right.
Which blows my little tiny mind. So I'm curious. But I was quite surprised at how well it ran. Obviously, I'm still quite early in, and I might not have come across many of the things that push the hardware. But yeah, I was quite surprised that it was quite smooth, quite smooth. But yeah, as I was saying to you pre-show, like the anomalies, just that one like right at the start, that fucked me up real good. And they are hard, like they are not easy.
The mutants.
The mutants, sorry.
Yeah.
It's not just like, here they are. The first one, it's like a little bit of a tutorial. This one's kind of weakened and you can kill it quite easily. No, this thing killed me like 6 times.
Yeah, just chuck a mid-level one at you real early just to keep you on your toes.
Because I had to like manage, bandages, and because obviously like you're bleeding, and there was one point where I actually did die because I knew that I was bleeding, but I forgot that I could bandage up. This is like the first time. Yeah, but I mean, like, I'm enjoying it. The question I have for you though is a lot of because this is this series has been around for quite a long time. It's got quite the cult status, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
However, a lot of people are very, very excited because it looks like Metro. So this is probably not even just a question, but but what would you say to those people? Like how would you separate the two, right? Because when I read on Facebook, in all the gaming groups and Reddit and whatever it may be, I'm seeing people are fanging for Stalker and it's giving off Metro vibes, and I'm like, brother, this ain't Metro. This is so yeah.
Yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down. So look, assuming that you've got Metro players that hadn't played its spiritual predecessor Stalker and are seeing Stalker 2 and getting excited, which I completely understand, the crossover there is obvious. I feel like what Stalker 2 represents to Metro is it breaks apart the kind of hand-holding. Metro, even with Exodus sort of invited you to explore these more open zones, but still kind of pretty narrowly set you through areas. It was quite narrow in its scope. And the early two games obviously being quite linear. This is not linear at all. I don't recall any point in time where the game has stopped me from going where I want to go. And I can head there at my own peril. I've been spanked pretty hard by going in a few directions I probably shouldn't have been, and that's great. I love that design. So it's the hardcore cousin of Metro, where they take the leash off, set you free in an open world. If you've played Metro and you're good at Metro, that's going to get you through the door gunplay wise, but managing your survival is something that you only lightly had to toy with in Metro. Changing your gas mask filter every however many minutes, that was about it. You're going to constantly be mashing the bandage button. You're going to be constantly smashing down cans of soda and shit like that to keep running. You're going to be managing systems, which is something that you didn't do in Metro. So hardcore older cousin in open world would be the easy sell for me. Hardcore though is a loaded term, but it's hard, man. I'm mashing that quick save button every 30 seconds like it's a religious act.
I'm definitely getting and this is the problem with this point in time, right? Is I don't have the time that I would like to give to this game. I would like to just sit down 3 to 5 hours, put on some headphones, put on some cans, and just immerse myself in this world, right? Instead,
which is what I've been doing.
Yeah, instead it's just 30 minutes here, pumping out. So, and then you kind of lose.
I'll be telling you to play Metro.
Yeah. What I did like about from what I've played and my memory of, I played bits and pieces of the first one and a little bit more of Call of Pripyat, right? I don't remember any of those two. So, but this one does have objective. So if you are, and this might be a difficulty setting thing perhaps, but on the Stalker setting, which is what I'm playing as, it does give you objective markers as well. So don't just think that you are just dropped into this world and you kind of got to figure out where to go yourself. There are basically indicators that do kind of...
You'll always be given a critical path marker.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's going to seem quite out of reach, which is where heading off the beaten path becomes so attractive.
Which is, quite cool. I did get fucked up by some sort of bull. I was just walking through this house.
There's a lot of wild pigs.
I stepped outside this house and then all of a sudden I was like, what? And then just got charged by this fucking bull. And I was like, oh.
This is a savage world. You'll never know if you're safe or not, because there's just going to be something or a firefight between two factions will break out and you suddenly find yourself in the middle of it. Just that dynamic stuff's happening all the time. So it's creating such fantastic emergent storytelling moments for me, on top of what has proven to be a tremendously decent core story experience, much more so than the previous games. Every single line of dialogue is spoken, acted, some of it hilariously bad, some of it pretty good. There's production here. That's all I'll pretty much say on it today, I think. Do we have any more questions? Because we'll revisit it quickly for a score update next week.
I do have a question, but James, go first.
No, mine would be to wrap it up. So you.
Sure. I just have one very, very quick question. Do you feel like they have captured the essence, the vibe of those earlier games? Because kind of what you were saying about the shooting and whatnot. Like, this is a janky game still. Not janky, maybe, yeah. Like, it's
this is not the word I'm going to be using.
This is not a polished shooter. Like, if you're wanting polished shooting mechanics, like a first-person shooter, this is not that. No. Do you think they've done that deliberately, or is that just hasn't done it by design, or is that just purely scope? Let's put it that way.
I think they've actually kind of hit on their sweet spot because their shooting mechanics changed tremendously across the first 3 games, for instance. So the first game, you could aim at something, have it standing right in front of you, right to the head, and it like misses by 90 degrees. Like, just the way firing worked was really unusual in the first game. They scrapped that completely in the following 2. So in Call of Pripyat, it's pretty much exactly the same as Call of Pripyat, except they've built in intuitive cover mechanics. So now if I'm squatting next to a barrel or a box, there'll be some very light contextual leaning if I want to go around the corner. But of course, the game also heavily emphasizes using manual leaning. But I found the contextual cover system, it never got in the way. And I think that's their one improvement, but otherwise this is firmly stuck in Call of Pripyat's 2009. I think very deliberately so. They could have made a lot of changes to it, but it feels exactly as I remembered it. And I played that game like 2 or 3 months ago, right down to the fact that grenades just like you throw them like rocks and they have a blast radius of like 1 meter. They're just effectively useless. Like, they've kept all of that the same. Like, they've spent all these years just authentically remaking the games that they'd already made, but with greater production. And that's kind of all I wanted.
So, Stalker fans who enjoyed the first 3 will have a good time here.
Yeah, this is absolutely for them. I really will love to read reviews from people that never played those games and what that experience is like for them. I can't imagine. Could be good, could be awful.
You've kind of hit on something there that I'm going to ask about, but and I know that it's a little reductive to do this every time, I guess, but this is kind of the market we're in with Xbox. But like, is this kind of like asking if Dragon's Dogma 2 would save the Xbox? Like, is this too obscure and too frictiony a game to maybe rest the hopes of like the next big Xbox hit on?
100%, James nailed it.
Okay.
Though
that is an absolute yes.
Question to that: this is not any related affiliate. This is not in any way affiliated with Microsoft, right? This is just purely on Game Pass. This is not published by Microsoft, is it?
PC. Yeah,
but it's not published by Microsoft.
No, it's self-published, is what it seems like. And PlayOn, I think, is also involved in the publishing.
Sure.
Oh boy, I better not say anything because now I don't know.
No. I'm just wondering because when James, not to.
I thought it was a
cancel
Microsoft
your point,
joint.
but.
Well, it's been so heavily marketed as one that kind of like it. I mean, and you can only if you want to play this on console,
Correct.
You're playing it on Xbox.
It's kind of like Final Fantasy for Xbox.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But so it's self-published, and then they've reached out to Sega for publishing in Japan. So Microsoft's not really in the picture. Cool.
Well, there you go. I hope it comes to PS5. I want to play the fuck out of this, but my PC is probably not going to be able to handle a UE5 game at this point. So
hopefully by the time it comes to PS5, it's in a much more stable state because they're patching it virtually every day. I'm playing it for review, so it's.
You'd assume it would.
There's some tuning. Feels like it needs a lot more time in the oven. This is going to be my Cyberpunk 2077. I'm calling it now. It's just going to fuck everyone at launch, and I'm going to be like, yeah, it's great.
I feel like this is the kind of game though that you could just spend forever in the oven and it's never cooked.
Sure.
Like, you got to eat it at some point.
That is a great point. I feel like this game is 85.
It's a little pink.
I feel like this game is 85% of the way to being its effective vision. Like, it feels so close to the perfect vision that I imagine they had as a team.
Right. Oh, there you go.
Big chat.
From one not Xbox published game to an Xbox published game. I have been playing Avowed. So I got access to a preview build that was the prologue, and I guess like roughly about 45 minutes to an hour worth of the opening zone that you get drummed into this game. So this is from the Obsidian Entertainment folks. Set in the Pillars of Eternity universe, the world is Eora, I want to say, but where you are is the Living Lands. It's this kind of like hyper-saturated, high fantasy, just very vibrant living land. It is a very organic place. It's got a huge focus on nature and environment, and in its theme and its aesthetic. I want to sort of quickly jump around for a minute. Adam, let's start with you. Where did you land on what was Obsidian Entertainment's other like recent-ish thing?
Outworlds?
The Outer
No.
Outer Worlds.
Wilds?
Outer Worlds, yeah.
Worlds.
Yeah.
Did you play Outer Worlds?
I did, yeah. I largely played it on the Switch, which was a fucking horrendous time.
Yep.
But I reviewed it on the Switch. But I have played it on
Did you really?
an actual, yeah. I played it on a big boy console at some stage, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it enough.
Idiot.
I'm not like a massive Fallout person, so it kind of, I don't know, it probably bounced off me a little bit. But yeah, I enjoyed it enough, let's say.
Yep. Nathan? No.
I finished it all last year, and it felt a bit soulless for me by the end. I didn't really enjoy my time with it.
Zach?
No, I didn't play Outer Worlds. I've already forgotten the name of it. But,
Nice.
just on it, like, I've always wanted to get into these games though. These are the games I just do not have time for. I just can't commit that amount of time. Maybe I get one or two every generation. Let's say that, you know, that I get to treat myself.
That makes sense.
So yeah.
I ask because based on what I've seen of Avowed so far, I kind of feel like if you enjoyed the Outer Worlds, you're probably going to enjoy Avowed. I think if you didn't, you might not like Avowed. It is what Obsidian managed to do with the Outer Worlds in a way that, like, I personally didn't always love, but I understand the appeal of it. It was a streamlining of the Fallout formula in a lot of ways. It was very vibrant. It was very brash and loud and very much itself. And in that process, for me and for some other players, like Nathan was talking about, it lost a bit of that essential Zhuzh, you know, the juice maybe kind of got a little bit lost in the sauce, as it were. And Avowed feels like that, but for fantasy, for your Skyrim kind of type and whatnot. Like, so far this is like a really beautifully constructed little theme park ride that I was on. I think, you know, up front, the first person stuff is actually quite good. There is a good physicality to it. Everything feels the way that it should feel. Swords have a nice heft, spells have a nice crackle, running around, and there's a lot of platforming. There's a lot of sort of momentum in how you run and you slide. All of that feels genuinely quite great. So, you know, 10 out of 10, happy days on that stuff. Exploring this place though that they've created, again, like I just keep coming back to that theme park idea in the same way that I felt that way about the Outer Worlds, in that everything is so meticulously crafted to within an inch of its life that it doesn't feel like I'm exploring an organic space so much as I'm exploring a boxed presentation of something. And I think that that's a valid way to build a world. I think especially if you're thinking about things like scope and trying not to blow that out too much, I definitely see the appeal of moving to this mode for them. But what it does do in turn is kind of like, it focuses the player and not the character that you're playing as, for me so far. And so it's a lot of talk about like, oh, thank goodness you're here. We need you to solve X and Y. And oh, thank goodness you're here. I need you to head up to my house and do this side quest for me. And I think that, you know, you look at something like the way Skyrim does that, the way Bethesda games do that. And I think that lack of character in the player character isn't always necessarily a bad thing, because you've got a massive scope that you explore in a Bethesda world. And so while nothing individually is written in a particularly amazing way, you feel like you can explore. Zach?
Sorry, you might have just mentioned it and I might have just missed it, but do you play as a character or are you making your own character that's kind of nameless?
You make a character. There's a character creator, and then that character is the royal envoy is what they're called in the world. It's how they get around the naming thing.
Okay.
And yeah, you've just been sent here by the king. I want to say lord. Whatever. The big chief, the big cheese, has sent you to this place to do some investigating.
Wasn't he from Resident Evil 4?
Yeah. Mr. I forgot his name. I was going to say something vaguely Spanish, but I thought better of it. So, yeah, because you're playing that role, it's a lot of people kind of blankly staring at you, going like, "Oh wow, you're here," or "Oh, I don't like you because you're from the Empire," and it just feels. It feels like I'm walking through Disneyland. It's the same way I felt with Skull and Bones, where I would walk around an environment that was so beautifully crafted, and then I would turn to someone and they would just go, "Arg me hearty, welcome to Skull and Bones." Like it's that, but for a fantasy world in Avowed. And like, it's frustrating to feel that way because I think there's a lot of good craft on display from what I've seen so far. The art direction is beautiful. My PC is like 6 years old at this point, and this thing ran on ultra settings. Like it was great. Like they've obviously optimized it really, really well. And so kudos again. Happy days. Yeah, well, I know, right? It was a fun little turnaround. Yeah. Not going to try to run Stalker, but that's a whole other kettle of fish. Yeah, and like I said, combat's good. General exploration is fine. It was pretty linear from what I played so far, but again, that is a tutorial and your opening area, so this could get blown out in a pretty big way later. I will say at one point, I fell off a cliff and I thought I was going to die. I just kept falling and then had to swim my way back around to the front of the island. So that was fun. That was a nice little, oh, this is bigger than I thought it would be. So like I didn't have like a bad time with these 2 hours, but I also came away from it the same way that I came away from the Outer Worlds, which I played 5 to 6 hours of and went, I don't think I need what you're selling me here. And I think that there are going to be
Switch.
Well, look, it'll run. If it runs on my computer, it'll run on a Switch. No, but no, like I think that like it will have its fans. I think people are going to enjoy the brightness, the colorful, the ease of everything. It's just for me, it was like a really frictionless experience in a way that is very indicative of where Obsidian have ended up with a lot of their writing, a lot of their tone that I don't love in games. Questions?
Obsidian don't like what's the word? Like have different divisions? Like
they do. Well, teams,
they do.
But I don't know if they have several.
No, but like it's not like obvious. It's not like this. Well, not the A and B, but just like Capcom have like, what is it? Dev Team 1, Dev Team 2, like whatever it might be. So it's not like that. Like, we don't know who this.
I don't actually know.
No. I was just curious. Yeah. Or if it's just Obsidian kind of thing. How's the combat?
Adam.
Oh, sorry. Oh. Snuck a second one in there right before the hand went up. Beat the buzzer.
Yeah, I know you were on it. I'm happy for you to answer the combat question first, but I think it's maybe funny that we're talking about Stalker at the same time after you've just kind of explained what this game is. Do you think people will attach to this in a similar way to Stalker, right? How that's kind of a game out of time. It is got the jank. It's a progenitor to a lot of like games that have then evolved on that foundation and gotten, quote unquote, better and, more advanced. Do you think people who, like myself, I played shitloads of Skyrim. It came out at the perfect time when I was a teenager and was real big on that sort of thing. Do you think it will resonate with me more because it's from that kind of bygone era? It's like a more polished, up-resed, better feeling, just kind of switch your brain off RPG in a fantasy setting. Do you think is it going to appeal to someone like me who would be looking for that?
I don't really know, because I think that what we're talking about with Stalker when we talk about it feeling like it's from a different time, and what we often talk about when we say that with games like Dragon's Dogma 2 as well as a good example of this, is that it feels like these are games that were developed in an alternate timeline where guide rails and hand-holding and very particular design ethoses didn't take root within these genres, right? And Avowed feels modern, very, very modern. It is... like, it doesn't hold your hand necessarily, but like again, there was no friction for me at all. Combat got a little difficult at times, which was the most I was ever engaged with this thing. And we'll get to that in a sec because, like Zach was asking about. But I think to your point, like I think that this is mind off, sort of brain off, kind of good vibes, flow with it and whatever, but not in the same way that I don't know how you could really get lost in Avowed necessarily, because it'd be kind of like getting lost in like a semi-decent TV show. I guess you'd be like, oh, that was cool, but you're not quite there with it, you know?
Sure.
Just remind me, how long have you played?
I got about 2.5 hours out of this.
Do we know how long how big the game is? How long or big the game is? Have they specified like 50 hours, 40, 30?
I think they have talked about it, which if someone wants to fact check,
I can give it a look. Yeah,
that'd be amazing.
I'm just curious as to
what is this proportional to?
If it's like 40 hours, you know, are we going to see it open up, you know, in 5 to 10 hours? Like, is that when you
Adam's shaking his head?
No,
doesn't immediately. It looks anywhere from
25 to 40.
So 13 to 40.
Okay.
Right. So it doesn't seem like it could be. I think maybe if you just mainline the shit out of it, right, you could probably.
Yeah. I could see that.
So 20 hours, let's say that's probably a safe.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I mean, like, and look, obviously things will evolve as you go along. Like, I mean, it's really difficult to judge an RPG based on the opening hours of an RPG. I think most of them aren't amazing at that initial phase, right? It's just that for me, it's more of like a tone and a writing takeaway that I got from it that made me go like, oh, if this is what you're presenting to me as like the hook of your world, I don't know that it's a good hook. I think it's just because, you know, like the broad strokes is that like there is a magical plague that's sort of coming up from the earth and turning creatures and people into like weird spore zombie versions of themselves. Cool. Sure. Like it's fantasy. Yeah. like if you want one of these, it's one of these kind of thing. Like not bad, but just not thrilling either. Zach, the combat I actually really liked. I thought it was challenging in the right way. Multiple enemies got a little much to deal with at times, just again being in that first person, being very focused on the methodical nature of like blocking and swinging or casting a spell and whatnot. But when you do get to focus in on 1 or 2 people at a time, had a really good time with it. You often get a companion character who you can combine abilities with. They can also sort of draw fire for you, which is really good. Like I liked it. I only had a sword and a shield. I found a great axe at one point and a grimoire that is kind of like in your offhand and can be used to do both active spells that are on cooldowns and passive spells that are on cooldowns. The passive ones you always have access to. The active ones you can upgrade over time and you can swap in and out from the little face buttons.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And this comes out
February, I want to say, because it got pushed into next year.
March.
Which I can definitely some placeholder stuff
February.
going on. So yeah, I don't know. Like I didn't have a bad time. I just had a time. I played a video game.
Mm.
Do you think it was enough for you to want to go back to it, even if maybe you're not doing it for content? Would it be something that you would dip your toe back in just to see what the finished product's like?
Probably not, based on what I saw. Not because I don't think I think the combat especially could become quite interesting if you give it time to let it cook and build layers onto itself and whatnot. But every character that I spoke to and every sort of story thread I had to pull on just left me feeling like, oh yeah, sure. And that's not what you want from the beginning of like your epic fantasy adventure, you know. And I think that like Skyrim is aged in a lot of ways, but starting off with that little civil war kind of conflict where you're in the prison camp and you get to choose between, you know, the rebels and the empire. It's like yeah, tropey as fuck, but it pulls you in. You make your choice. Yeah. You feel like you have sort of momentum with the story from that point on. Whereas this, there wasn't really any of that. It starts with a shipwreck. There's a weird little blue guy who's like, gee Williker, we survived. And it's like, yeah, cool. All right.
Nice.
There was a hot fish man. But other than that,
no. Jay wants to fuck the fish. I don't want to know about that.
Yeah, sorry. He doesn't have gills or anything. He's just like really blue and weird.
So where do you put it?
Water.
Well, you're not going to put it in the gills.
I don't know. How do you?
Well, anyway,
James.
That's Avowed. I guess we'll have to wait and see where that one lands next year, I guess.
Oh.
I think I want to. No.
Yeah, don't finish that thought.
No.
Let's not.
Things
Speaking of things
fishy.
crawling in and out of places they shouldn't be, Kieran Verbruge has reviewed Ants for us. A little shout out to this one here. He says, competent RTS gameplay, a decent smattering of compelling side activities, and jaw-dropping presentation makes up for a glacial difficulty curve and some dud mission designs. This one's less Company of Heroes and more BBC Earth in mostly a good way. He gives it an 8.5 out of 10. Has anyone heard of Ants?
Yeah.
Is it Empire of the Ants?
Yeah, it's Empire of the Ants. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Gotcha.
The email just said Ants, so I assumed it was just called Ants.
It did. No. Not a shout out, but a shout out, sort of. Little byline. KS Kieran Stockton will have his Black Ops 6 review out when this goes live, or it'll be out. So check that out.
Very good.
I think not to drag on the Empire of the Ants thing, but this is one that kind of did the rounds on, I don't know, old person social media, Facebook, where it was those, you know how you get those game trailers and they're like, I can't believe, look at this game, it looks phenomenal, it looks good. Black Myth Wukong was one that did the similar rounds. But it only started doing that like 3 months ago, and then the game's out. So it's nice to see that that's actually happened. Usually that you see trailers and then either the game doesn't come out or it does a Black Myth Wukong and takes forever to get there. So it's nice to see one of these actually just drop.
Just jump quickly back to Avowed. That thing's $120.
Yep.
Like
sure
normal?
Is.
Like normal price?
Well, not if you want to get it 5 days early. You have to pay more for that.
Do we think
Game Pass though?
Well, that's the thing. Do we think that they're deliberately doing this to push people to Game Pass?
Not so much.
That is a dangerous question. I think that we get into weird territory when we start talking about, from our point of view, trying to judge what a game is valued at from a retail perspective. I will say though, based on what I played of Avowed, I was a little surprised it was a full price product.
Indeed.
Stalker 2 is $90.
Well, it's $100 according to.
Oh, is it? Steam's 90, so
that
PC
I
players
don't.
good.
That I don't. Sure, that's $100 to me seems fine for that. I don't know. Something about $120 for Avowed just.
Yeah.
Mate, you do with your greenback what you want to do with it.
I will. Don't you worry about that.
It's just the scope of the game. At least as someone that played the Outer Worlds, and I know that Obsidian have compared this to the Outer Worlds in terms of scope. It didn't. The scope size of that was so reduced for those games. It didn't feel like what I expected from a big full-priced offering. But as I said,
I think my thing is more like it's free on Game Pass. Like, what is the incentive here?
Tempting.
Like you know what I mean? Like PlayStation, you got no fucking choice. You want to play Astrobot, you want to play whatever it may be, you got to fucking pay up.
Yeah.
Here it's like I could just pay $15 a month or whatever it is at the moment.
But I mean that's the central pitch, right? That's what they want you to do.
That's what I'm saying.
I don't know why. Worth goes down the fucking drain.
That's what. Anyway, carry on.
Well, speaking of shit circling the drain, nah. No, come on now. Let's be nice. Jeff Keighley's The Game Awards have announced their nominations for this year's event. I don't know, has anyone here had a look, other than Adam, who wrote our lovely news piece on this?
I looked just far enough to confirm that Dragon's Dogma
now.
did make it in. Under
What
the
did it make it in
RPG
for?
category, at least.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yes.
And Zach, you're having a look now?
I mean, I feel like this year's been a weird year. Like, I feel like this is a...
Or it has.
Yeah.
I feel like there's no... And that's not to be mean to any game, but like I feel like there's no real...
Baldur's Gate?
Yeah, or like Alan Wake 2. There's, like, no one's frothing over anything that extent.
You are correct. I think we'd all agree on that.
There's been heaps of good games, like really good, solid, awesome games, but like...
Lightning in the bottle.
Where's the Zhuzh?
Niche kind of games, right? And so like the more you spread out, the less likely you're going to get like sort of popular consciousness collating on one title to push it up to the top of the list, right? But
Also,
for the top
Hellblade
of the
2
list,
came
I
out
will
this
just
year?
quickly say, sorry?
Hellblade 2 came out this year?
Yeah,
Sure
like
did.
June.
Damn, I thought that game's
Yeah.
old as fuck. Not old as
Oh,
fuck. That was like,
wow.
that was
Yeah,
last
that feels
year.
like
Yeah.
a lifetime ago I reviewed
It
that.
does.
Not
Or was
good.
it May? June.
Anyway,
Anyway.
just quickly, Game of the Year nomination has gone to Astrobot, Balatro. I don't think I've ever had to say that out loud before. Wow. Black
You
Myth
did it.
Wukong, Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree, which is obviously the controversial one this year, Final Fantasy Rebirth, and Metaphor
there it is.
Casio.
Yeah.
Adam, DLC,
Hello.
should it be nominated for Game of the Year?
Nope. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
We're done here.
Well, okay, like I see the whole thing of people like, oh, well, the DLC was so big it could have been its own game. Well, make it its own fucking game then. If it wants to be in Game of the Year, then it can be its own game. If I think what maybe old Jeffers would be best off doing is having because I mean it kind of blends into what is it, best ongoing or whatever that. I don't know. His titles are a bit odd, but best DLC, best expansion, or something to that effect, right? Because it is still Elden Ring, and I think importantly, you need to play a fuckload of Elden Ring to even access Shadow of the Erd Tree. It is not a standalone expansion. There are some standalone expansions that do feel like their own separate experience. Shadow of the Erd Tree is a part of that game, a part of that game's story, and it makes, I suppose, Elden Ring as a whole, it fits into the whole, right? It's not its own separate little thing. So I don't know. It feels weird to me. We're kind of, I think it's a weird thing for people to get really riled up about because it's just a fucking game award. Like, it's not that big a deal. Me personally, though, no, I wouldn't classify a DLC as something that should be in contention for Game of the Year.
I agree. But I also think it speaks to my point before.
Absolutely, yeah. It is. It's indicative of what's come out this year, right? If it is the best thing that anyone has played this year, then also it's kind of like, well.
Also, I think it's important to note that in the rules for nomination this year, it was specifically highlighted that DLC was eligible. So this was like an active choice that was made. It's not as if like, the people who nominated these games collectively just threw it in there for shits and giggles. Like, it was express permission given to do this, which an odd choice, I would say for sure. I agree with Adam. I think just make a new category, best expansion. Done.
Yep.
Easy.
James?
Yeah.
What's another expansion that came out this year?
I don't know.
Exactly. Alan Wake's Lake House.
Hey, there you go.
I'd still give it to that too.
Did that make the cut though?
Yeah.
Final Shape.
Night Springs also did. Both of the Alan Wake expansions came out this year.
Destiny Final Shape, right? I feel like that. Sorry, that would be different. I feel like that would fall under ongoing game thing.
Yeah, I mean,
both.
Well, I think it's more because it's a live service. Elden Ring's not live service. It would be more my argument with that.
Right.
Nah, fair.
But Alan Wake, okay, that's one. But I feel like this has been a decision that's been made purely to get this in there.
Was Diablo 4's expansions as well? I know that's more of a games as a service, but that is a beefy expansion.
Which one?
I can't remember what it was called. The DLC for Diablo 4.
So wait,
Vessel of Hatred.
MMO expansions are just out. Because that's
Remnant
a big
2
one right there.
had a lot of great DLC, actually.
Final Fantasy 14, is that what you were? Yeah.
And World of Warcraft just had its big expansion that folks are.
Do you know what? Fuck it. No, I'm with Nathan. I think a game can be ongoing and have its own category of be like, smaller updates and this, that, and the other. And then if they do have a big, hefty expansion, that is an expansion. If you have to pay for it,
you got to buy.
That is
expansion.
No, I'm with Nathan.
So
I think
does that mean
get Destiny in there? Fuck it.
Anyway, I don't really know what I'm thinking. So
no, I get it. Understand.
Any
other?
No, I think you're gonna ask the same question. Sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. Here's another interesting one for you. Silent Hill 2 getting nominated for Best Narrative
Nah.
A story from 2002. Whatever it was.
See, here's another thing of, sorry to cut you off, Zach, but it was another part of that like, please don't yell at us, we made it part of the rules little snippet of the Game Awards website. They made it very clear that remakes and remasters and all of that can be in contention for Game of the Year, which I don't think we largely have an issue with. Zach, you can't say you have an issue with it because you rigged the votes to have Resident Evil win twice. No, I know. We've covered it. We counted the votes. But Silent Hill 2, like, effectively had a script that was from 15 years ago or however long. It feels a bit disingenuous to have the name Bloober Team attached to Best Narrative.
Especially given that Bloober Team's additions to that script are the wobbly parts of that game. I find especially quite interesting. Yeah.
That would be, so that would be the I was going to basically say the same thing, is I feel like you can be Game of the Year, can be a remake, especially if it is a substantial change, like your RE2s, for example.
Yeah,
I wouldn't ever put RE2 in a Best Narrative conversation. So that's, that's not here. But I feel like a story that's already existed and is essentially being 90% retold.
Yeah.
Nah, it feels a bit weird.
But speaking of stories that have existed for a while and are now being retold, Nathan, how are you feeling about the JRPG representation this year? Sort of on one hand, you got Metaphor, on the other hand, you've got Rebirth. I know that Rebirth I think people are cooling on that quite rapidly the further they get from it. How do you feel about where we've landed with all this?
Well, obviously, I'm a big fan of Rebirth. Haven't played it yet, but I'm already like psyched as shit for when I do get around to that. I mean, I think I have no issue with that lineup. I think they're probably the strongest general contenders for RPG.
Can I just
based
confirm,
on the fact that I've only played 2 of them?
Can I just confirm, Nathan, you are in fact a Final Fantasy fan?
Absolutely, since day one, babe.
All right,
just wanted to
good.
clarify
Glad we cleared that up.
I did want to throw a question out there before we. That was when James, you and I had this little awkward moment. Are there any games, not to kind of give away your own thing, but do you think there's anything missing from Game of the Year? Because I can't even think. Yeah.
Dogma.
Like, are there any games that?
I don't know. Not that immediately spring to mind. I mean, it's Prince of Persia's excellent.
But it is. I mean, I'm glad it got some nods elsewhere, but I think it probably deserved to be up there. For me, 1,000 Times Resist is oddly absent from this list. Everywhere on this list.
Never heard of it.
Yeah.
See,
that's
yeah, cool. I think that is indicative of just the amount of people that have played it. I think Star Wars Outlaws getting a few nods is interesting. I don't want to speak negatively and say that shouldn't be there, but yeah, I don't know. Seems a bit.
What did it get nods for?
Got nods for. There were a couple different. Hang on,
because I know performance for
innovation and accessibility.
Which sure. Best action adventure game.
Oh, come on now.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Well, let me put it to you folks. How many of the best game of the year contenders have you actually played this year? I'm looking at that list and I'm sweating a bit.
It's a very good point. I definitely tried.
I'm feeling like I'm not very well studied this year. I'm scoring 2. No. Yeah. I'm scoring 1.
I have a controversial question. Balatro, video game or toy?
Can you play it on
game or activity?
Can you play it on a console?
Yes,
all the consoles.
No. Well, yeah. So I'd say yes. It's
okay. Right. That's
all right. So in what world, right, are we genuinely having a conversation about the artistic merits of Metaphor Fantasio versus Balatro?
I don't know what Balatro is, by the way.
Not to say one or the other is the correct choice, but I'm saying that one is a card game design around numbers and basic systems that are meant to hook you into a loop of playing a toy, and the other one is a story.
Game of the year, though.
Sweet Jesus.
Game of the year, James.
You telling me my game needs story? Come on now.
No, I'm not saying it needs story, but do you think that like those are just kind of fundamentally different things? It's kind of like, as someone on Blue Sky put it, as like, you wouldn't compare Uno to Metaphor, would you?
Speaking of
I
Uno,
would. I think Uno is the
Metaphor
perfect card game.
I am this close to pulling the trigger on buying minimalist Uno on Amazon. Just thought you should know that.
Just to spite us?
We're happy for you. Yeah.
No, you go.
I was going to say, I would, to answer your question, yes, I do think Helldivers is missing off Game of the Year.
Interesting.
I think Helldivers is a phenomenal game. And
it is a very good game.
Yeah, I think I am playing it.
Oh, you are? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I thought you dipped on us.
Nah. I'm still amongst it. I say
the Patriot. Good man.
Balatro or Black Myth and chuck in Helldivers too.
Black Myth's the one that looks like the outlier to me. I didn't realize that it was resoundingly loved, but cool. Good for that.
No,
good for them.
I have one quick umbrage with best narrative and best performance. Now, James, I hope you come along with me on this journey.
I think I know where you're going to go, and I'm ready to go with you.
I don't think it's up there for Game of the Year. I'm not going to say that, but I think in terms of narrative and especially in terms of performance, Banishers deserves a shout out. When you look at to me, this screams what are the biggest games this year?
Absolutely.
To a certain degree, mostly. That's how I feel when I read this. What are the games that have had the most marketing, they've had the most success, that have been in the picture the most? That's what I'm looking at here. And I think of a game like Banishers, which had incredible performances from I don't recall the names, but the two main performers.
The two leads were stunning. Yeah.
And that narrative is really it's a dark and it's touching and it's heartfelt and it's just it pulls at you almost in a way like The Last of Us kind of does, right? I just, and then you whack in fucking Silent Hill 2, which is just a game that already exists, and it's just like, no wonder fucking new IPs can't get anywhere because Jeff is fucking glazing his pants over fucking remakes, mate.
Oh my sweet Jesus.
Pants over remakes and the DLC conversation is happening. There's also the other side of this, in that, like, these are games that are largely nominated by a huge number of press and content creators who are all playing the same games because we're all chasing the same trends in this market and whatnot. I mean, I personally think that just speaks to like a broader issue that we've got with maybe the quality of critics we're producing. Who's to say? But yeah, I don't know. I think we should be more curious about what's going on in the industry and in this field outside of what we can immediately reach for at any given moment, because like otherwise these awards just stagnate.
I also think if you want developers to get their flowers, make sure you watch the DICE Awards. The DICE Awards are voted by industry for industry, and they're usually a bit more indicative of genuine quality rather than just popularity. So the actual event itself is a bit awkward, but it's worth paying attention to the DICE Awards.
In fairness, Jeff didn't probably decide these games, but
no, but I do think that like
he's the face
those
of it,
rules
so
tilt the balance in an interesting way.
It's just it's the whole SEO. You got to cover what's big. Sex sells. You're not going to get a game that doesn't. It's not big, but it might be really fucking good. But no one, only 10 people have played it. So who gives a shit?
Yeah,
that's where little boys like us, and need to.
Little men.
You don't like Savoys? Savoys? No. What are the red sauce?
Little Frankfurts. Break them out. It's a special occasion.
What's the S word though?
Savoys?
No, they're Savoys. It's Savoys.
Is that the biscuit?
Savoys are the bit.
Oh, okay, right. Anyway, this has been Australia.
Savory?
Yeah, great. We are running long, so we're going to get through the news as quickly as we possibly can tonight. Sony is apparently in talks to buy a name I'm going to have to try to pronounce here. Kadokawa? Kadokawa. Anyway, Japanese mega corporation has its finger in a lot of pies, from real estate to TV to movies, massive stake in anime and manga publishing. But most importantly, for most video gamers out there, they are the parent company of From Software. Insiders are reporting through routers that there are ongoing talks that could wrap up within a couple of weeks. It could be that soon that this goes down. Obviously, Sony having ownership over From Software would be the thing that everyone's going to jump onto here. But it is also putting the cart before the horse to not talk about the fact that because Sony is already in charge of things like Crunchyroll, this will give Sony a monopoly on the anime industry in Japan, basically, which is just not good. I don't want any of this. Acquisitions are bad. Sony has had a really rough year of its acquisitions and how it's been handled internally. So, yeah, how are we feeling?
What if we got Bloodborne 2? Would you change your tune?
Fuck no, Adam. You cannot buy me like that.
Good man, good man. No, I think
you can't buy him like that.
Yeah, we'll see how we go when it comes out.
I think, like, from an acquisition point of view, it shouldn't matter how much cash is in the bank. It's about, I think, like as you said, it's about how you're managing the ones that have just gone down, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, they haven't been good.
No.
So
no.
Bungie, none of them
especially, I think, is the big one, but yeah.
Well, Concord, fucking fire.
Well, yeah,
Fire sticks,
yep.
Firewalks.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, anime don't care though. So whatever.
Great. Excellent. On the opposite side of the acquisition fence, Microsoft, Phil Spencer went on Bloomberg and had sort of one of his very Phil Spencer-y chats where he says a bunch of stuff. I guess the headline is that Xbox is working on a handheld console. I think we've kind of been dancing around this for a while with them, but they have confirmed it now. And yeah, look, cool. More places to play Avowed.
Can't you play Avowed? Play Game Pass and stuff on like a Steam Deck and stuff?
Everything?
Yeah. Your phone?
Essentially, yeah.
This is an Xbox.
I mean, everything's an Xbox, right? According to their new marketing campaign. So,
my LCD fridge.
But
Xbox.
Yeah. And Zach, I feel like you've got a little special headline you wanted to drop
I just saw this and I thought this was interesting. It's probably more so for. Did we all play? Yeah. See, I knew this would get a little bit some eyebrows.
Yeah, boy.
So there's a report that's kind of leaked. I did see it on Reset Era. I can't remember where it's come from exactly. Probably says in this article. But it says, looks like Back 4 Blood 2 is on the way. A sequel to Turtle Rock's Bloody Good, apparently. This is Eurogamer, not our words. A sequel to Turtle Rock's Bloody Good, Back 4 Blood is seemingly in development under the name Gobby 2. It might be Gobi.
Yeah. That's going to get the kids.
Well, Turtle Rock confirmed work had shifted to its next title at the beginning of last year, and there's been no official word that hang on, this says Back 4 Good 2. Is that? I'm confused. Back 4 Good 2. There have been plenty of rumors that the latest of which maybe the strongest hint. Yeah. Anyway, could be a thing. Nathan, you reviewed Back 4 Blood. How do you feel about that?
I'm so excited, man. I thought it was a lost cause because it got Back 4 Blood got abandoned pretty early on from memory.
Did you give it a 6?
I feel like I gave it a 6. I'm just trying to find our review.
I've just popped it in general. You did give it a 6, yes.
Look, it had a crack, boys, and I'm ready to have another crack.
I'm Rain Man for review scores.
Oh my god!
I would call it Back 4 Blood.
I hate you. I actually hate you. I hate you so much. That's awful.
2 back.
2 back. 2 back.
No.
4 Blood.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, why not? Yeah, all right.
Yes,
this is so interesting to me. I would never have seen this coming because I thought that they were not happy with how this performed. It was dead.
Turtle Rock are a very interesting subject because they haven't really had a banger.
Their last being Evolve.
Was that a banger though? I mean, like a one that's actually
10 years ago.
It's hit,
and they relaunched it and it died again.
Yeah, because it had like really good previews or whatnot or early coverage, and then all of a sudden it's just everyone's like, nah, bit shit actually, eh?
Well,
Adam,
online only at that time wasn't popular still.
I have a very quick news question for you. I just want 30 seconds, no more than that. Arc Raiders gameplay came out. Does it look good? I haven't watched it.
I also have not watched it.
Yeah. For that kind of extraction shooter genre.
Good to know.
It's piqued my interest.
It certainly didn't show anything I hadn't seen before, but it looked...
Yeah.
Alright, cool.
I've listened and read to some, like, because they had the play test, like the invite only play test thing, and yeah, sentiment seems to be pretty positive, so I'm still interested.
Same.
Okay. Cool.
Well, there you go. Zach, take us to the 2000s.
So I'm going to give you the Google snippet, not snippet, what's the word I'm looking for? Blurb, whatever. First, because this, I feel like it gives you nothing. I also want to state for the record, I don't think anyone's getting this film, so I'm confident I'm going to get three wins here. So Leo is released from prison. Leo's friend Willie works as a vandal for Frank, who is a local contractor. Leo joins Willie as a backup, but when the police catch Leo, he doesn't know whom to trust. I feel like that gives you absolutely fucking nothing. I was like, what? Nothing. Who wrote that? I was like, that's like that sponsored piece that we wrote that one time. So the IMDb synopsis. That's where it's a bit long. So I'll give you in the rail yards of Queens, contractors repair and rebuild the city's subways cars. These contracts are lucrative. So graft and corruption are rife. Okay. When Leo Handler gets out of prison, he finds his aunt married to Frank Olchin, one of the big contractors. He's battling with a minority-owned firm for contracts. Willie Gutierrez, Leo's best friend, is Frank's bagman and heads a crew of midnight saboteurs who ruin the work of the Puerto Rican-owned firm. Leo needs a job, so Willie pays him to be his backup. Then things go badly wrong one night. A cop IDs Leo, and everyone now wants him out of the picture, besides his ailing mum and his cousin Erica. To whom can Leo turn? It's quite long.
Boondock Saints?
Sorry.
If I gave you this cast without giving you the main actor, I think you would shit yourself.
That threatened me with a good time.
So, James Caan. Charlize Theron.
Okay.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Oh, is this the Italian Job?
You are on the right track. The main actor. I was
thinking the Italian Job the whole time.
No. The main actor is Mark Wahlberg.
Is it the Italian Job?
No.
Is it the Italian?
No, it's not. It's not the Italian Job.
The Gambler?
No.
I am dry. I got nothing.
I'm confident none of you have ever seen this film.
Pull the pin. Give it to us.
It is in the disc wallet. It is called The Yards.
Yep. No.
Doesn't even.
2000s. Really cool film. Really, really cool film. I think it's a cool film. That's why I picked it. But very, very good. Good cast.
That is a good cast.
Yeah. See, James is impressed.
I am. I'm always a little impressed by you, Zach.
Rotten Tomatoes. Oh, that was very bogan, wasn't it? Is
Rotten Tomatoes. It's in a comfortable 69%. All right.
Nice.
64% on
so close.
On the, I was close. Yeah. There you go.
All right. We have 5 minutes on my clock. So, Nathan, real quick, what do you watch this week? What have you read?
I watched Shogun. It was good. And then I read half of a book. It's called Underworld by Don DeLillo. It's capital L literature. You probably wouldn't enjoy it very much. Thank you.
Hey Siri,
because I'm dumb. What does that even mean?
Very self-indulgent. It's very postmodern. It's very rambly. It's the kind of book I read where I'm inspired as a writer, but as I'm reading, I'm like, so the actual content of the book's not that great, but fuck, I'm enjoying how they play with words.
Okay, what's it called?
Underworld, by the dude that wrote White Noise.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah,
Adam.
I'm up to date with What We Do in the Shadows, the final season. It's making me sad that it's ending, but also I saw an interview of Matt Berry, and I think he might kill himself if he continues to do the show. So completely fair. And I think I'm 6 episodes into Penguin, which is way better than it has any fucking right to be.
Hearing good things.
Yeah, it's a banger. Yeah. It's like complete HBO gangster, like Sopranos. So it's
I saw someone describe it as Batman's Andor. Is that correct?
Yeah, I feel that.
Okay.
Yep, it carries way more of the energy from like the R-Pat Batman than I was expecting. I thought they would just kind of be like, it's set in the same world, but no, it does feel way more authentic to that world than I was expecting. Yeah, real good time.
Does the Penguin make any references to Gabagool?
I mean, not yet, but I'm waiting for it. Ooh. It's got to be any minute.
How's Colin Farrell?
Unrecognizable, but excellent.
Okay.
It's unreal how under all the prosthetics, the best acting he does.
There's an Irishman.
It's somewhere in there. But like the best acting he does are just the subtle little like physicalities, like the little changes in his face when someone will say something to him that, I don't know. It's very understated and dude's great. I think he's a fucking killer actor.
Sounds good. Zach, what's your Apple TV show of the week?
I haven't got anything for you from Apple, but From still stinks. I'm really getting fucking fed up with that shit now. Red Rose, turns out last episode I gave that whole spiel about how I was 6 minutes from the finish line. I got fucking no idea what's going on. 3 more eps. And
what the fuck? How did she fuck that up?
I thought I read it was 5 eps, but clearly I and it kind of was like, we're gonna wrap it up, boys. And then it just wanks on for another 3 episodes. Fine, like it's decent enough, but by the end of it I was just like, you probably could have had this in another, could have had it in 6 eps, 1 more ep could have tied this whole thing up. That's it.
Okay. Did you ever finish Teacup?
I did actually.
And?
Okay. Yeah, it started better than what it finished.
Yeah.
Still, right. I think it's still watchable if you got nothing else to do.
Wow. Okay.
No, like it was.
I get it. I understand what you're saying.
It's fine. Like it's capital F fine.
I'd rather watch it than die. So there's that.
Well, it's like if you see something else that you're into, and you're like, oh, we'll give that a watch. I'm not saying put Teacup to be first. It was fine. It was interesting.
Okay. I watched the first episode of Dune Prophecy, which is the Dune TV show. I thought it was pretty bang average. Very
nice.
I watched Dune Part 2 right before it, which was a huge mistake because Dune Part 2 is a masterpiece and Dune Prophecy is a TV show. So, make of that what you will. And I finished the Before trilogy. That's, before sunrise, before sunset, before midnight. Loved Before Midnight. An incredible ending to that trilogy. I understand why people don't like it. I think it is brutal and perfect and just, like one of the best tragedies I've ever seen put to film. I loved it. Yeah.
All right.
That interests me.
Oh yeah, Nathan, I think you would really fuck with it. Very much a journey worth going on.
What's it on?
Amazon.
Okay. Do you pay for ads? Sorry, like to get rid of ads?
I do pay for Prime, but you still get ads anyway. It's fucked.
Yeah, but you can then pay.
You can
another
pay
$2 or whatever it is.
Can you? Oh, no, I'm not going to do that. No, that's highway robbery. No,
I did that once when
Prime is cheap though.
Prime is cheaper. Yeah.
Prime is like $9, isn't it, or $10?
It's the principle. It's the principle of the matter.
I know.
I kind of stay with me here. I kind of like the ads. I like a part of me misses ads watching, like, particularly television, not in movies. Movies, it can get in the bin. There's something about watching an episode of TV and an ad coming on and I can make a cuppa. It's, I don't know. I kind of like it.
I can see what you're driving at. Yeah.
What I will say about Prime very, very quickly is I find they're offering less and less. I feel like I have to pay for more and more on their service.
Yeah, they're siloing it off into different subscriptions now. It's really
it's just like, you Google, I don't know, like The Yards. Actually, but by the way, The Yards is on Apple TV for $4.99. But like, let's say it said Amazon, you'd have to fucking pay for that. It's not included in Amazon. It'd say like, it's on Prime, and you go sweet, fuck yeah, The Yards is on Prime. Fucking Saturday night sorted, brother. And then you type in The Yards and it's like, here's $9, and you're like, nah. Yep. Surely Bezos and his yacht can throw us a copy of The Yards, mate. Like, what's going on? Anyway. Yeah.
And you, dear listener, can throw us a view on well-played.com.au. That is the website where you can find all of our wonderful content. By the time you're listening to this, there'll be an Avowed preview up. I don't imagine there will be a Stalker review, but we will give Nathan time to cook because we want that to be the best it can possibly be. You can also find us on YouTube at WellPlayed_AU. Ash is doing amazing work over there. And Twitter, WellPlayed_AU, and Blue Sky at WellPlayed, if you want to check us out on the old socials. That's all I got. I don't know how to end the show.
It was great. That was wonderful.
Yeah,
we can say farewell.
We're on Threads.
Adieu. Oh, well, are we?
Oh, yeah.
Not really. About as much as we're on Instagram. Bye. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye now.